right before the lockdowns, we had to travel to DC, we stayed in a hotel outside of DC, and she had to get 7 weeks of radiation at Johns Hopkins
Wow.
Sibley Memorial Hospital, which is not the main branch of Johns Hopkins. It's in DC. It's kind of like right outside the city, in the DC area.
Right.
But while we were in the hotel, I think it was the first night or the second night in the hotel, right before she was going to start the radiation treatments, the 7 weeks, the COVID lockdowns hit. We went from being in the hotel the night before, having dinner in the lobby, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
talking to everybody, nothing's really going on. The next morning, they fired the staff left, the cooks were gone, the ceilings were, for some reason, some pipes broke. The lobby was flooded. I walked downstairs. I thought it was like World War II or World War III.
Yeah.
It went from fine to you're in SHTF, basically.
Right.
And so now I'm away from home, from South Carolina to DC. It's me and my wife in a hotel.
Right.
Luckily, I loaded the car. I had items to get us through, but I had to make my way next door to the Food Lion or one of the big stores, stay in line. And I bought I remember buying like $500 worth of food. And we had an efficiency hotel because it had a little kitchen in it. And I have videos on it. If you go on I'll send you the links. They're on my channel. If you go to March of 2020 on my channel, you'll see all my COVID vids start from the hotel room.
Okay.
I did videos from the hotel. I got all the food behind me telling our story.
Yeah.
But basically, that was my biggest fear.
Wow.
Being away from home base and something happening. And it's me and my wife. Now, thankfully, I have family in that area of DC, Virginia, that we kind of leaned upon and helped us out at the time. But we got through the 7 weeks, but it was the hospital after the second week of radiation would not let me in anymore to be with her because of the COVID, the masks and all that. So I had to sit in the parking garage. To drive on the streets of DC, I had a special license from the hospital in case I got stopped by the police because DC was on lockdown.
Right.
That's where we went from the hotel to a place in DC, inside DC, and we had to stay there 7 weeks. So I was on the streets of DC for 7 weeks during the COVID breakout.
That's crazy.
So that's a whole nother thing, but these are things, and that's all stemming from getting back to my wife being sick.
Yeah.
You've got to deal with the hand you're dealt.
Yeah.
I wasn't able to be in the countryside, and your family member's sick. In this case, it's my wife. Yeah. She needs life-saving radiation treatment, which ended up being good, and we getting through it. And she's not physically fit to put a backpack on and bug out in the woods. So a lot of my preparations have to be around her, handicapped. That's why I'm saying I plan on leaving and running away unless I go to like my parents' house or my brother. They're kind of local, or my camper. Other than that, we're not driving cross country and going into the wilderness to survive. She just can't do it.
That's a whole movie within itself.
So yeah, it's
speaking of movies, you were in DC,
right,
during the lockdown COVID.
Right.
Your wife had cancer, going through radiation treatment.
Right.
You're trying to figure out how to survive in this lockdown, right?
Right. And I'd walk out. At the time, my older daughter lived in downtown DC. That's where we stayed. Okay. They had since moved out.
Yeah.
But we were about a few miles. I forget the area, but it was a few miles from the Capitol. So what I would do is, we're all on lockdown. So we're ordering food being delivered, which DC had a pretty good network of like DoorDash or whatever it was. So my daughter would order food on, have it delivered. Yeah. A couple times I got on the way back from the radiation, I stopped at the grocery store. We put our masks and gloves on, and I have it all. That's why my channel is like a vlog, really. My Bibles and Barbells channel.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a vlog of my life, really,
Right.
since 2009, since I started it.
Wow.
Um, so in the afternoons when we got back from the radiation, I would go next door. There was a big cemetery,
Mm-hmm.
and I'd go jogging around the cemetery. And I remember people would stop me on the street, put your mask on. I'm like, no, we're outside.
Yeah.
I'm not putting a mask on. I'm going
Right.
jogging on the cemetery. But they were already at that time people confronting me on the street, and I didn't want any
Wow.
issues. But it was a time of uncertainty because we didn't know
Yeah.
what was going to happen at the time. You
Yeah.
know,
Wow.
but that was my like a nightmare come true, being away from, you got all your preps at home. You're kind of safe
Mm-hmm.
if there was a lockdown or something like that. All right, we're home. I got this, that. I got power,
Right.
food, water, filtration. But when you're on the road with just you and your wife
Mm-hmm.
in the middle of a part of the country that is heavily populated,
For sure.
um, it was like, oh gosh, you know, it was scary, and I.